Everybody, this is RexRed, and I am starting another tutorial here. This one is in regard to recording background vocals. Well, that's how it's going to start out, but really what this is, I had a person on YouTube tell me, well, really, they're not tutorials. If you learn, if it's a video and you learn something from it, well, it's kind of a tutorial. But I'm not just really, I'm not just picking a certain kind of thing and saying, okay, this is going to be what I'm going to teach you about. That's it. I get done teaching that little certain thing and it's all over. This video could go on for 5 hours. Okay? And over the process of that 5 hours, you will learn something. Maybe. All right. I'm hoping that everything is working, that there's audio. You're going to have to tell me if my audio isn't working. You're going to have to post into the chat if the music is too loud. I have this set up through this is a very complicated setup because you're going to be able to hear my mic when I'm recording, hopefully. And you're going to also be able to hear me talking. So it's all routed through in a kind of very odd and precarious way. And so hopefully you can hear me now. If you can't, please tell me that there's no audio, so I don't do this for a couple of hours with my mouth moving and look very funny. Now, the music is something I made last night. The vocals have not been edited completely, and I have set up these really funky new chapter kind of parts to the song where this is something new that's just come out in Cakewalk, these where you can put, I guess they're called chapters. Let's see, what are they called? I guess it doesn't matter. Let's see, right click. They're called sections. Okay, so these new sections up here, and they allow me, and when you go into this where you can drag them and drop them down into here and rearrange certain parts of the songs. I don't know that I'm going to use that part, but this part is very helpful where I can just jump to a certain part of the song, which it didn't work, but okay. And also it just helps me to realize, to see, like, here's my instrumental, here's my chorus, and all those things. So that is very helpful. Okay. Now, and I can make that larger or make it smaller. Okay, that is good. Now, I'm going to insert a new track in. So I'm going to right click here, insert a track. That didn't work. What did I just do? I just minimized that. Insert a track. Okay, and now I'm going to arm this track. And I always record in mono. So in order to record in mono, you have to switch it to pick which channel you're coming in. And when you do that, it runs that mono channel. So what I did was I went to my audio interface and I clicked, this is coming through on the left channel of my quad capture interface, audio interface. So when I click that, it divvies it up over the left and right, so I'm not listening to it in just one ear. Now, I'm hoping you can still hear me now. At this point, I have the track armed, and I'm going to create, this is going to be an ooh track. So I'm going to call this ooh 1. All right, ooh. And this, I'll play the beginning of the song. Now, I haven't edited the vocals yet. So as you can see, I've sung many takes of the vocal. And if you ever select something like this and you don't know how to unselect it, you always go up here to edit, select, none. It just bothers me that's selected when I don't need it selected. Now, these are all my vocal tracks. I've sung this many times, and I haven't comped them, which means when you comp a vocal track, you go through and decide which sections, which phrase, which syllable of each track, of each take that I'm going to use in the song. I have not comped this yet, so I'm going to rely on this particular take for these oohs and this particular take for the second verse and the second chorus. Now, I'm going to play this song for you so you can kind of get an idea of what it sounds like. I hope that's playing. I hope you can hear audio. Now okay. When we are together, we feel this emotion. There is just us and our devotion. We hold on tight. Love will follow with all of our might. We'll never let go. There's nothing more I'd rather do than stay by your side to always love you. Our love is true in your sweet virtue, for I was made to always love you. Okay, that's the first verse. I'm not going to play it all the way through because you'll hear the end. I just wanted to kind of give you a once through. That's just with the lead vocal, and technically I could take that vocal and the guitar, and I could mash them together by mastering this song, and it could just be a vocal and a guitar song where that's just completely it. And I tend to think, with a little bit of editing of some of the vocal, that this song could actually stand on its own just like that. It doesn't. And if you hear, I have a lap steel in the background. I have that turned way down. In fact, I'm going to turn it off for now. It's not been edited. It's more of a distraction in my mind right now than it is part of the song. So all you're going to hear is the guitar. Now, I have a rule with music. What I do is I believe that the greatest instruments in the world, like if I were to say, okay, well, I have a guitar in this song, what's the best instrument I can, and a vocal, and my vocal, what's the best instrument I can put in this song besides this guitar and vocal? And you might say, well, I think maybe the best guitar, it's going to be a bass guitar, of course, and maybe a drum, okay? But then kind of after that, what's next? And you might say, well, maybe a piano or a lap steel, like I'm not a lap steel, but the pedal steel. But I have a philosophy with music that I believe that the very best instruments you can add to a song is the human voice. And so that is why I'm adding these oohs and ahs in the background, because the human voice is it's such an incredible instrument. It's like humans have made many beautiful instruments in this world, but they have never been able to make a better instrument than the human voice. And so that is why I'm going to put the human. That's my philosophy. Now, people may disagree and say, well, I've got some sounds on my synthesizer that sound a lot better than most people. But, you know, even some of the worst human voices, they have such a deep and depth to their character, and maybe not quality, but the character is very complex of the human voice. So here I am going to add. So I'm going to add some oohs, and then I'm going to add some ahs, and then I'm going to add some harmonies. Now I haven't figured out. I think I'm going to end up putting them all on separate tracks. Okay, so let's see. And I'm going to copy the oohs and use them in other places. So I think I'm going to do the oohs only once, and then I'll copy and paste them for the other places that I need them. And I'm going to do the ahs only once and copy them for other places that I need them. But the harmonies, I'm going to do them twice. So I'm going to do them once here and once there. And I maybe I could copy and paste them also, but I just want them to be different, and there's a possibility I could pick one and that's better and use it for both. But okay, so that's the plan. So this, I'm going to lay down now the first ooh track, okay? When we all right. Now okay, here we go. This is the only arm track. Here we go. When we are together, we feel this emotion. There is just us and our devotion. We hope. All right, I'm going to do that again. And I don't really like the way this is. Okay. When we are together, we feel this emotion. There is just us and our devotion. We hope. All right, I like that one a little better. Now I'm going to move that over to the left, and then I'm going to add another track. We're going to call this ooh 2. Ooh 2. Now we're going to do the same thing. We're going to make this, select our input so it comes out as stereo, in stereo. Then I'm able to pan it. Okay. Now, and I'm going to put this over in the right ear. Okay. I hope you can hear this okay. I have no idea if this is coming through right. When we are together, we feel this emotion. Ooh. Okay, I gotta go. Ooh. All right. Okay, we're gonna do this again. When we are together, we feel this emotion. There is just us and our devotion. We hope. All right. I'm going to do that again. When we are together, we feel this emotion. There is just us and our devotion. We. All right, let's see what we got here. When we are together, we feel this emotion. There is just us and our devotion. That's nice. For some reason, there's a little bit of lag or something, and that could very well be because of this setup that I have. It sounds like I came in like there's just a tiny delay on my vocal, but all right. But this has got to be 3-part harmony, so we're gonna. I have to figure out what the third part is, and I'm pretty good. Like, you know, my ear is pretty close to perfect pitch when it comes to hearing pitches and all, but sometimes I have to search around to find it. So that's what I'm going to have to do here. Ooh, ooh, ooh. When we are together, we feel this emotion. There is just us and ooh. Well, I think I might be a ooh, 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 ooh. When we are together. Ooh, that's a ooh, 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 ooh. Ooh, that's it, that's it. When we are together, we feel this emotion. There is just us and our devotion. I think I messed up on the low one here, so. When we are together, we feel this emotion. Okay, I need to hear these soloed. I don't think I did it right. Ooh. No. Ooh, ooh, ooh. That's correct. Ooh. Oh, I see what I did. Ooh. 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 All right, I have to do this bottom one again. Because I switched my pitch and I have to stay on the same pitch. All right, so that's what we did wrong here. When we are together, we feel this emotion. There is just us and our devotion. All right, now let's see what we've got here. Ooh, 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 ooh. Okay, I think that's it. Now, okay. Now I'm going to start some more tracks. These are going to be the Aahs track. Now I'm going to go and edit these, and I'm going to kind of mess with the pitch and fix them and mess with the timing a little bit. And they're going to, ooh. When we are. I think I'm going to re-record that high one again, just for the heck of it. When we are together, we feel this emotion. There is just us and our devotion. All right. When we are together, we what have I done here? Ooh. When we are together. Okay, so I've messed up here again. Ooh, okay. When we are together, we feel this emotion. There is just us and our devotion. Let's see if we got it that time. This is not easy, okay? But you gotta get it. You gotta get it. Let's see what we got now. Ooh. Okay, now I'm going to do these oohs again because they're a little too airy. When my voice gets like this kind of airy thing, I don't like it, and since I have both of my earbuds in, can't really tell. So it's like I'm singing with headphones on, and I can actually do that and still sing on pitch because I've so many years of singing that my voice just does what I think it's doing, and so luckily I'm lucky that I can do that. But I'm gonna take one of these out a little bit for a while here. I have to have some music. Just I don't like that airy sound, and I do that because I'm trying to be soft and I'm putting out too much air in the wrong kind of positioning my voice in the wrong way. And so I can sing in the right pitch, but when it comes to the quality, it really requires me hearing the timbre and tone of my voice. So here we go. When we are together, we feel this emotion. There is just us and our devotion. All right. Now I think I got it here. Very nice. Okay. Now I will be lining them up and and correcting the pitch and doing all that stuff. You know, they would work the way like back in the 60s that would be enough. But in the 2000s, I mean 2020, 2020s, you have to get them right. You have to get them perfect. Now okay, this is ooh 3. Now we're going to start another track. Insert. And that's going to be easier to do the ahs now that I've done the oohs. Okay, now I have to do this. Did I already just do that? Yes. Gosh, I'm so quick. All right, here we go. Now we're going to do the first Oh, I want to take one of these out so I can hear the timbre of my voice. The ahs are going to be a little harder than the oohs, I think. So. We hold love follow with all of our might. We'll never let go. All right, there's one. This is one. And that's going to go left. Okay, now we're going to add another one. We're going to pan that right. All right, and we're going to go this. Did I already do this? No. Oops. Yeah, I think that's it. Okay. Devotion, we hold on tight. Love follow with all of our might. insert audio track. Now we got one more to do. And I'm going to put this. Now the way I pan things, I always do the oohs and the ahs hard left and right. But I put the high, I put the low ooh left and the high ooh left. And I put the mid ooh right. So that the high ooh and the low bass ooh, that they're together because they're not going to conflict with each other, okay? Because one is high and one is low. Now, if I were to put the mid ooh over here and the high one, then you'd get this really high one all by itself, and you'd get this mid one, and the bass one would be on the other side, and that would kind of make it heavy on one side, okay? So putting the high and the low one together and the middle one on the other side, it works, okay? I have done that for many years. And so we're going to make sure we have this done, and we're going to pan that. Okay, I think that's my note. And our devotion, we hold on tight, love with all of our might, we'll never let go. All right, I'm not sure if I like that. I was just and our devotion, we hold on tight, love follow with all of our might, we'll never let go. That's gonna work. Okay, I will. I know there's a delay in my voice, and that's not because I sung it at the wrong time. That's because there's a delay in the mic, okay? And a lot of, that is something that most people don't realize, that today's singers, they have to deal with this delay in the mic, and the singers way back, a lot of people don't realize, but they had to deal with the delay in the mic too. Not always, not all of them, because a lot of times the band would just play and they would sing to the band, and that was fine, no delay whatsoever. And when you have that circumstance, yeah, you can just sing. It's like, because most people, they have no problem. But when you hear your voice coming back and there's a delay in it, it throws you off, okay? And it's impossible to sing to that. But guess what? You have to sing to that. You have because what the computer is trying to do is the computer is recording you, and it's not giving you the monitor, of your mic. It's playing back what it just recorded. And you're hearing that in your ear. It's hearing what it recorded. So it's able to record you and play you back. But there's a tiny fraction of a delay there. And it's that fraction of a delay that throws. And that's why I'm up here like I'm late here, because that delay threw me off, okay? And so you have to go back and edit stuff. You have to go back, and if I just take it all and move it back by the exact same amount, you'll see that I sung them all in time. So, yeah, and we have to deal with that. Now, way back when, in the 60s and 70s and all, when they were recording on reel-to-reel, the reason why there was a delay there was because there was a playback head and there was a record head, and the tape would go over the playback head and go over and so what it was playing back was different than what it was recording, and oh my gosh. And they kind of fixed that. Fostex, I know the Fostex created a record head that had the playback head and the record head in the same place, and it would just kind of flip them around and stuff. But even then there was a tiny bit of delay, and but if you're just if you're just like, you know, like back in the 60s when they just recorded you with a band and you just all you had to do was sit and sing, you know how easy that is compared to today. It's like, just to let you know that today's singers have a lot of hurdles to do because of the way things are set up, and you can monitor what you're doing, but I can't do that here because I'm also sending my mic through the internet uh through a live uh a live stream, and so I only have so many options with my audio interface card. So okay, now I'm going to now this is track 1, 2, and this is 3. And usually I don't name them like this, A3. Usually I name them low, medium, and high, because then I know that this is the low bass and that's the medium and that's the high. But okay, this time I'm going to just do it 1, 2, and 3. Now, I probably will go back and switch that later, but now I need a harmony. And I'm going to do this again, switch to that so it's in mono. And now I'm going to have to bring up my lyrics. They are here. There's nothing more I'd rather do than stay by your side to always love you. Our love is true in your sweet virtue, for I was made to always love you. There's nothing more I'd rather do than stay by your side to all right, so I'm gonna record this. I think I'm ready to sing it. I kinda got it in my head what I'm gonna do. Never let go. There's nothing more I'd rather do than stay by your side to always love you. Our love is true in your sweet virtue, for I was made to always love you. All right, there's one. That came out surprisingly well. Okay, I'm going to save the file, save this. Okay, this is Harmony, HARM1. Okay, we're going to go back to this again. And we're going to do this again. Now, with the harmonies, I'm probably only going to record 2, okay? I'm not going to record 3 like before, because my voice, my main voice, the lead vocal, that's taking the third, where when I'm singing in the other parts, my main vocal isn't singing ooh, it's singing words, okay? And that's why I put 3-part harmony for the oohs, okay? So that it follows the whole spectrum of ooh, okay? But here, since I'm singing the other part, then that fills all 3 spectrum, all 3 frequency ranges, okay? Now, here we go. So I'm going to put this on the left because my lead vocal is in the center. So the low one is going to go again to the left. I usually put the low to the left. I don't know why. That's probably why I'm half deaf on my left side, because of all the energy that flows always continuously to my left ear. But I always put the bass harmony on the left and the high harmony on the right. So it's just the way I do things, and you know what? I do it because that's the way I like it. I was never taught to do it that way, okay? So that's you can decide what you want to do is use your ear, okay, and if see what sounds best in your head, okay, because you're making this music so you like it too, you know, and so and your head is very unique. Your ears, it's like I always think one of my ear doesn't hear as good as the other. You're making it so it sounds good to you, and you know, hopefully, if it sounds good to you, it will sound good to your fans. Okay, I'm not sure about if that's true or not either. Okay. Okay, I have to set this up. I think I did set it up. You know, I do these things like in my sleep where I don't even remember turning that one. This is Harm 2. Harm 2. Okay. I gotta find my place on these lyrics. Never let go. There's nothing more. There's nothing. Okay, see, I have actually sung the high part. So this is actually going to be the low part. Let go. There's nothing more I'd rather do. Stay by your side. To always love you. This one's harder, okay? There's because I can definitely hear that high harmony in my head when I'm singing it, but through the main vocal, but the low one just has eluded my brain, so I'm going to have to really work on this one here. Okay. Never let go. There's nothing more I'd rather do than stay by your side to always love you. Okay, I wasn't ready on that second. It was like all right, so we're gonna go try this here. Always love you. Our love is true, and your sweet virtue. For I was made to always love you. Okay. Thank you, phone, for not going beep beep. It's like, yeah, right in the middle of that. It's like, oh, I have an alert. It's like somebody just posted something or something. There's nothing more I'd rather do than stay by your side to always love you. Our love is true, and your sweet virtue. For I was made to always love you. I don't think I'm going to do a high one on that. Now, I told you I was going to do two harmonies, okay? So I'm going to do two harmonies. Save this file. Okay, now I'm going to do it the same way I did it before because, like I said, I can hear that high harmony better. There's nothing more I'd rather do than stay by your side to always love you. Our love is true, and your sweet virtue. For I was made to always love you. I didn't quite hold that out long enough, but okay, I can stretch it. Let's see now. There's nothing more I'd rather do. Okay, I just didn't like how that one wasn't right. Okay, I'm gonna just do this again. Sure, there's nothing more I'd rather do than stay by your side, to always love you. Our love is true, and your sweet virtue, for I was made to always love you. There it is. Okay. Now, I'm going to do this one more time, this lower one more time. Let's see. Sure, there's nothing more I'd rather do than stay by your side, to always love you. Our love is true, and your sweet virtue, for I was made to always love you. All right, and then I'm going to do this one more. Then that, and one of those I fudged up a little bit, but these, it gives me the opportunity to pick, and if one of them I don't sing quite as nicely as I'd like, maybe of the other one I did. So sure, there's nothing more I'd rather do than stay by your side, to always love you. Our love is true, and your sweet virtue, for I was made to always love you. All right, there's that one. Okay, let's listen to that. There's nothing more I'd rather do than stay by your side, to always love you. Our love is true. All right, that's pretty much cut and dry. I'm going to do this one again here. All right. Never let go. There's nothing more I'd rather do than stay by your side, to always love you. Our love is true, and your sweet virtue, for I was made to always love you. All right, and then we got one more here. Just so I have something to pick from in case one of them something happens, that just doesn't record right, or it doesn't move right, or there's a particular note that doesn't pitch right. When I go to edit it, it gives me another option. Never let go. There's nothing more I'd rather do than stay by your side, to always love you. Our love is true, and your sweet virtue, for I was made to always love you. There you go. That's it. And so now I have this massive, massive job of going through and editing these and lining up each ooh and ah. And these oohs, once I get them done, I'm going to line them right up to a measure like this. And then I'll be able to just copy them and paste them right over to this section. And these oohs and ahs will probably also go through the instrumental at the end, and I mean in the middle and at the end. So the oohs and ahs will go through there, and they might even go through the section where I would be singing, like in the instrumental where it would go into the chorus music. I'll probably just do the oohs again and then the ahs again. So, you know, just think of, just think of music, these oohs and ahs, and there's also e's, and there's and I don't have any in this, okay? There's just oohs and ahs in this particular song, but think in terms of that. Think in terms of, and you can see when I click on this that yes, I am way off on these. They're late for some reason. Something is introducing a lag, a delay and latency. So, but it's no big problem. That's something that's really good. Modern technology, you can fix it really, really easy. Back in the 60s, it wasn't the singer that had the hard job. It was the sound man who had, and the engineer who had to go and splice the tape and cut out a tiny section and move it over. So it wasn't the singer. The singer, the singer, and what the singer had it hard because the producer, the director, or whatever would make them sing it over and over and over and over and over and and to me, I think when you sing something over and over, there's a law of diminishing results, that you crescendo, your voice gets better at it, and then it loses something. It loses like a flair and an excitement, because the first few times you sing it, it's like, oh, this is such a beautiful song, and then it's like the 50th time you've sung it, it's like, what? I got to sing it again. All right. so that's what happens. Now, that's where I'm going to probably leave this tutorial here. Now, this song, I have some plans for it. I want it to like start out very acoustic, like just the guitar, and then about halfway through, I want the drums to kick in. I want a full band to kick in, and it to have some kind of swing and sway to it, and so I'm hoping that I can do that with this song. I'm not sure that I can, but that has to do with instrumentation and how I bring them in. And this is going to make a beautiful song for one of my romances. I haven't figured out which one. I have something in mind, because I have a particular movie that the actors in it are just absolutely beautiful, and my brain just keeps coming back to that over and over in my brain, that how beautiful the actors are. And but I haven't thought far enough. Well, is this actually going to fit the story that they're in? It's not just enough that they're really, really beautiful together, but that it has to also fit the story, and I'm not sure that it does. But this particular movie keeps haunting my brain because the actors are so beautiful in it, and so I'm thinking that it will fit. And I wrote this song with the idea that to make it fit almost anything, okay? It's because I didn't talk about the moon. I didn't talk about walking in the rain or down on the beach. I didn't talk about, the clock on the wall or, I just wrote about a deep long-term kind of love and appreciation for each other. And that makes it easier for me to put to just about anything. And very rarely do I ever write and create a song for a particular thing. Usually I create the song and find something for it to fit to. But as time goes on, I may actually try to do that in some cases, to try and fit. I may end up with, I'm feeling like sometimes I'm backing myself into a corner that there's not going to be enough movies left, that I'm going to run out of movies, that I'm going to run out of stuff, and I'm going to have to go and find things that were difficult, that I couldn't find anything to work with, and write something and create something, make something that fits with it. And then there are a lot of movies that I have songs and they would fit so well together if they had just put that one section of them kissing in the rain, or if they had just made that one section, if there had been just one shot of the moon. That's I run into that too. So I hope this has been helpful. I'm going to go in and there to some other people, and I'm hoping that Cakewalk becomes the de facto standard for making music, because it is the de facto standard for making music. Whether if people know that or not, they don't know it, but Cakewalk is the best DAW, and it has been the best DAW for many, many, many years. And most people, a lot of people don't know that. They think, and I'm not going to mention any names, that other DAWs are, but they're not. Cakewalk is. And Cakewalk is, it's the funnest one to work with. It's the most intuitive to work with, and that's my opinion. And I have been using this Cakewalk since before Windows. Before Windows was made, I was using Cakewalk for DOS. I had DOS. I remember all I had to do was put the disk in and it would load right up, and I remember that Cakewalk for DOS screen, and that was before you could record WAV files, and all you could do was work with MIDI. And I also, before PCs, I worked with Commodore 64, which I think technically was a PC also. I worked with Commodore 64s, and I used my Commodore 64 with master tracks, and I hooked that master tracks to my MIDI synthesizer. And I also, my very first, when I was working with, I don't think it was Cakewalk for DOS. I think it was the first Cakewalk for Windows, was when I hooked my computer up through FSK. It was a kind of sync. A friend of mine built the FSK board, and he made the main board with the copper and all that, etched the board, did all that stuff, right? Showed me how to do it, which I would never remember how to do it, but he actually made an FSK board, and we synchronized that Cakewalk for Windows, one of the first one. It was for Windows 3.1. We synchronized, I think it was Windows 3.1 when I did that, and yes, it was. It wasn't Cakewalk for DOS. That was the one I used. I don't know that I used Cakewalk for DOS with my reel-to-reel, but I definitely did use the Windows Cakewalk for Windows. I just used the Cakewalk for DOS, just ran my synthesizers with it, and I used cassettes. I believe I recorded it onto cassettes at the time. That was way back. And so, but I had, because you had multi timbral instruments and all, and that was very very good. So I used that, the Cakewalk for Windows, the very first for 3.1, ran it with FSK and synchronized. So every time I pushed play on Cakewalk for Windows, my reel to reel would start, and it was going through with using FSK at first, and then I switched over to SMPTE timecode, and now I don't have to do any of that stuff. So that was nice. I had a Fostex 80 8-track, so it was 8 tracks all one way, and it had Dolby noise reduction, Dolby C noise reduction, which I always kept on. It had variable speed. It was very nice, very nice. I had 40 blank reels, that Ampex reels, and I still own them. 40. They're not blank anymore. I filled every one of them up. So with music, and then I had to move all that music from the reels to my various albums that I have today. Most all of the songs that I made on reel to reel got remade, because I was really horrible at recording and multi-tracking and overdubbing. I was just absolutely horrendous at it, and I was horrendous at mixing and mastering back then too, and setting up compressors. I used them, but I didn't know how to use them. I didn't. So, and it took me 20 years to learn how to mix and master. I I knew how to write a good song. I knew how to record a good song. I knew how to lay down really good tracks. I knew how to record myself and get the mic set right. But when it came to compressing and EQing and all of that stuff, how to set the reverb, panning, and mastering, I didn't even know that was a thing. Way, way, way back, I just didn't even know mastering was a thing. So I would just mix my songs the best I could and try to get them all up to 0 dB, and that was what I thought it was all about. And it took me. I had to spend an entire year on YouTube and getting various tutorials anywhere I could to learn to mix and master correctly. And once you learn it, and basically if you watch my videos, you're going to see mastering, and a lot of people, I'll tell you, a lot of people overmaster. Okay? That if you make good tracks and if you EQ them right and if you mix them right, then all you need to do is just simply put a brick wall compressor over the whole thing and make sure your levels are right, and that's it, because you recorded it right. And I was taught this, actually. Some of the things that I do today, was taught many, many years ago. And so I know a lot of things, but I was taught that you don't really have to like EQ much on your tracks. You do have to cut the low end out of most of your tracks, and you have to cut the low end out of your bass and the low end out of your bass drum. You have to do that. But when it comes to like changing the timbre of your drums and changing the timbre, unless you're looking for an effect, you don't have to do that stuff to your tracks, because they're they're fine the way they are, and they really because when you go changing, eh, the only thing I do is I cut certain parts out, EQ certain sections out of my music so my voice will fit into it. Okay, I usually cut a dip at around 500 dB in around that area. Let's see. This is right in. Let's go to my Pro channel and open this up. No, it's actually, it's 200. I don't know why I was thinking 500 is this place that sometimes it will have a boxy sound that I cut that out. But 200, right at 200, I cut a dip out of all of my instruments, bass drum, snare, everything. I always cut a big dip out of almost every track. And it's a big wide one. It's not like a little, tiny small section. It's a big wide section that I cut out about like this. And it all depends, and I listen to it. I let my ear listen to it, and because I need that section cut out so my voice can come in here and fit in that section. And so I cut that out. And that's but when it comes to changing up in this area, you can. Sometimes I'll brighten up my voice a little bit, put a shelf on it, give it a little bit more air. But if you record, if you've got good tracks, good instruments, you don't need to do a lot of that. Just let them do their natural thing and mix them together. And if you go messing with these upper tracks a lot, and especially if you do something like this, just what's going to happen is you're going to create a ring in the speakers. You're going to find that some speaker systems are going to be very sensitive to that one particular, and you're going to hear, and they're going to play your song, and it's going to have this horrible hiss right in that section. Now something like this is acceptable, like this up in, if you really want to bring something out, something like that is acceptable, especially up in this, for a vocal up in the 6K range and all, for a male vocal, and in around that range, just to bring out some of the information, some of the detail in the words and all. But if you go, really doing this kind of thing, that's really bad for boosts. And you can draw, and the only time I really cut is when there's a really offending sound in the track, and it's usually something like in an acoustic guitar or a harmonica that has kind of like a screechy thing. It's usually, I don't use these like on every track. No, I would never dream of it, because I just find that most things sound good the way they are. They have that, they're like a full range feel in these upper range. And when you start like kind of really micromanaging these upper frequencies, you're creating a nightmare, a mixing nightmare, and you're throwing off the phase of your instruments. You're doing all kinds of stuff. Most things just sound fine. Now, electric guitars, like that I've recorded myself on microphones, sometimes I have to cut certain sounds out. They certain frequencies out. I'll cut a frequency out. Sometimes I'll boost a very little bit, very tiny bit, just but it's usually a broad boost like this to just bring out a certain area, like a little bit of warmth in here, or a little bit of very rarely do I boost up in here. Usually on an electric guitar like that, I'm cutting something out that's very offensive. I'm usually cutting something out like that's very offensive. But I my philosophy for mixing is that simple is better. Okay, simple is better, and I I used to have at times for my mastering bus, I've had up to like 10 or 11 different uh input 10 or 11 different devices in here mastering. And right now, I'm going to tell you, I use two. I use this True Iron, and I bring this up about here and I go about there, and it just gives it this kind of warmth to the overall sound. And then I do this and I go to my Fab filter and I set this gain so it hits up to is about 0, and I set the oversampling up to very high because I have an i9, and that's it. That's my mastering bus. Because I've already put all the quality into, and you know it when you start going in here and putting in EQs and reverbs and muddying it up and adding all kinds of other things into here and compressing there, all you're doing is, number one, you're doing stuff and then undoing stuff. You're creating a um, a phase nightmare. You're and after a while it becomes so complex, and your ear then says, "Oh, I like that." But you come and listen to it a day later or something, and it's just horrible. And it's the same thing with EQing. You go EQing and EQing this. Let me tell you right now, you just, for almost every track, this is what you do. For the bass track, you take and cut it there. For the drum track, for the bass drum, you cut it about here, about there, okay? And you use your ear, okay? And for the bass track and drum track, you always cut this out a little bit there too, okay? Just so that there's room for the voice. And then most of your other instrument tracks, your synths, your vocals, and your pads, and your guitars, and all that, you all cut them about here. And maybe on some things like the vocal, you might give it a little bit of a boost here, and or you might give it a shelf, okay, a tiny bit of a shelf, so give it some air to get it to kind of give it some presence and everything. You might possibly give it a little bit of warmth, okay, here, but that is pretty much it. And a lot of instruments don't need reverb. People over reverb. They put way too much reverb on stuff that doesn't need it, unless it's just, you can tell if something needs reverb if it sort of hurts your ears, where it's just a little bit too I don't know how to explain the hurt your ears kind of thing, but if it's too harsh, okay, and that's usually like a pad or your strings or your organs. And if you just want to smoothen it out just a tiny bit, then add a good long wave on it, okay? And very subtle, very, very subtle. But and then every time you mix a song, it's going to be so easy to do, okay? You don't have to put your 20 different mastering things in. You don't have to. And if you have to go and EQ the heck out of everything, and if you have to go and compress this and compress that and add this, and then you should go back and re-record your tracks. Something's wrong. Something is really wrong, and they've just totally messed up the recording. Now, when every track is recorded through mics, like you've got your bass guitarist and they're recording that through a mic, and when you're recording everything through mics, that's different, because that whole setup can just really throw off sound, where you do have to correct that, okay? And I call them acoustic tracks, you know, where and vocals. That's why sometimes I'll add a little vocal. It all depends on how close you are to the mic, and all on how you're going to EQ it. But really, just going in and adding this to one track, you know, adding that. I'm gonna bring that up and bring this down, and this and then they'll cut a lot. Sometimes they'll go and cut a lot of it and say, I don't need that all that bass. Don't be doing that because you're cutting all the warmth out of your song. It's very rare when you want to cut, like take and cut. Now, if it's like something high like flutes that don't have anything down there, yeah, well then you always bring this up to where the frequency begins, you know, and then if you need to cut, you cut a little tiny bit, but you don't go just taking like a guitar track and cutting all the bass out and leaving it like that. Never do that, okay? You want the full range of your tracks, because they're going to give your track, your whole overall song, its warmth. And you cut all that out, and then you know you come back a year later and you say, now I know why this song sounds like crap, because I cut all the bass out of it, all of the instrument, out of many of the instruments. And you just go in and just bring the bass back, and you've always got to cut a little bit off your instruments so there's room for your bass and bass drum. You've always got to cut some off, but you don't go chopping big sections out. Now the vocal, you might want to cut a little bit out. The lower end of the piano, just cut a little bit off, and some of your pads, you want to cut a tiny bit off, but not be going like this, okay? And cutting, you never do that unless it's a high instrument like a cymbal crash where there's nothing down here anyway. Then you just want to trim that section out. But that's pretty much it. You got to keep it simple, and all I add for is a little, and I add the compression. If you can see my other videos, I go into how I set my compressor a lot in that. I compress every track, and I compress every and I EQ every track, but I don't go nuts boosting, and I cut the low end out, and I might boost a little bit here and there. Sometimes when I have strings and I want them a little bit more shimmery, I might put a nice wide boost in a certain area, but don't go nuts with it, okay? Because all you're going to do is work your way into a corner. And try the song with everything natural, except for your cuts. You got to cut the bass out of things. But just try letting the song work, you know, pan things where you want them, but try the song first with everything the way it is, okay? With the bass drum, just don't go into it and start like dickering with the bass drum and say, oh, it's got to be a little more punchy. It's got to be a little, get the mix together, mix the things, and let everything be the way it is, okay? And then go in and say, okay, now, you know, it's obviously that bass drum needs a little more punch or whatever. You know, I rarely mess with the bass drum. I see so many people just like really saying, oh, it's got a little more, too much of a tick. It's got too much of a blah, blah, blah. And yeah, the only time I mess with the big one I mess with, it's not so much the bass drum, because the only thing about a bass drum is I don't like each bass beat being a different volume. Okay, so how I compress a bass drum is I give it a fairly quick attack and a long release, so that it stays all within, you know, and a lot of people give it a quick release so that it's ready to pick up the next beat, and I don't. I give it a long release so that it's always going to come up to the same level. Okay, it's always going to come up to the same level, because the worst thing in a song is to have a bass. Is a lot of power in a bass, and it is to have a lot of bass to have each time the bass hits to have a different level, okay? It has to be the same level. And yes, you could use a brick wall compressor on it, but I just compress it this way so that it has a big release, so that it always just kind of fills the envelope at a -4 and comes down and never goes beyond that. And that's the best thing you can do for your song, is to just make sure that your bass isn't variable. And if you give it like a quick release, then every time that bass sounds, it's going to kind of peak at a different place and it's just going to throw your song off. Every once in a while, the bass is going to be too loud. Every once in a while, it's going to be too quiet. You just want it to keep a very consistent level, upper level, okay? Now, so I always just put a long release on it, about there, like just a good long release. It's still enough for it to fade out and still come and pick back out. It's even with a fairly long release, the bass is still gonna fade out. And it's the same with my bass drum. I put a long release on it. It's still enough for it to fade out between the next. There's a good while, unless it's a big boom, 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 boom kind of bass drum. And even that, I want a long release on it so that each one so that it keeps the whole thing consistent, the whole upper limit consistent. That's where all the power is in your song, and you don't want it jumping up and down or varying each time. And then if you don't have your compressor on heavy, then when it goes away, there's like no bass at all. And that no bass, a lot of bass, no bass, a lot of bass, whoa, that is so tiring on my ears, that it's so fatiguing. It's just, I can't deal with it. I have to have a steady kind of bass presence in that low end. There's going to be actual like first order harmonics, but then there's going to be all the second order harmonics that are in the silence. And to just cut them out is like, whoa, my ears can't deal with that at all. It seems like a good idea when you're doing it. It's like, oh, I want the bass to cut out and then to come back. It seems like a good idea, but at least in my opinion, it's not. Okay, you just want to keep those. It's a nice steady. Even when you think, well, I'm doing it for an effect, and it's like it's usually not a good effect. So that's my opinion, is to keep your low end consistent and full and there. Okay. And if the song is going to really transition into like a very intimate part, you may do something different with the bass, okay? But I still don't think having it come in and then disappear and come in and disappear is a good thing, even with an acoustic bass where you just want that kind of pluck to come in. You still don't want just the second order harmonics to just cut out, all right? You just don't want that. You want them to very gently fade. So, okay. Now, so that's how I do. So if you keep that rule, so almost every track that I EQ, I keep the attack about like that and the release like that, because I want things to only come up to a certain level, and then I just adjust the output so that there's unity gain, and I bring it up to -4, and then when you get your mix together, don't do any peaks. Don't go down through each track and say, well, I want that a little brighter, and I want this a little bit like that. And then you go to the next track and I want that a little bit brighter, but like maybe over here, we'll bring that up a little, and you go all up like here, and you go through the frequencies. And no, just leave just put your high pass filter in, cut your bass out, cut your bass drum about here, and then cut your other tracks about here, and then the ones that have hardly end, they're really in the high range, and there's nothing down there, trim them so right to where about they begin, and then listen to your track, okay? And a lot of times you'll find that all you have to do is put a big, an expander, like I'm not expander, but this where it kind of mashes everything together, okay? This on a compressor on top of your whole mix and kind of glue it together, and you'll find that that's your best. That's enough. That's your mastering. That's it. Just make sure it's not peaking over zero, and that it's crushing, and that you have a brick wall on your mix, so it never goes over zero. Never, not even for a second. That it never goes over zero, so you have a nice brick wall, and so it will never distort in. And then let YouTube or SoundCloud or whatever, let them decide if they're going to bring it down to this 14 dB or where they're going to do it. I always mix them in at zero, and if they want to lower the volume and the relative volume or whatever for their website, that's up to them. But I mix my stuff at zero and then let them decide what they're going to do with it, okay? So, and I put the oversampling on 32x because I want it to handle the transients at the very highest quality possible. And so I put it at 32x, and luckily my computer can handle it for most of my songs, unless I have a whole lot of tracks. Then sometimes I have to go down to 16. So yeah, don't overdo your songs, and you'll find it's like for every track you set your attack, you set your release, you set your gain, you set this, then you come in here and you set your whether if it's a bass or whether if it's bass drum or whether if it's a guitar or pad, you set that, and that's pretty much it. And every once in a while you might come in with the vocal and give it a little bit. Usually I don't use a shelf like that. I usually just give it a little bit of a peck right here in about the 6K range for a male vocal, just to bring out the clarity of some of the words, okay? And that's it. And unless you have some, and the acoustic guitars that you mic and everything, you might have to mess with them. You might have to really go in and do all that crazy stuff you see people doing with cuts and boosts, and boost a little here and boost a little bit on the bass end or take a little bit out of the bass end. You might see some really weird stuff with acoustic guitars, and that's a good time to use something like Isotopes Nectar, or Isotope Ozone 8 or 9, Isotope Ozone 9, or that's a good time to try something like that, because Isotope is really good with acoustic guitars. It the way it has the dynamic EQs and all, it makes them very transparent. And acoustic guitars are really hard. They usually sound boxy and boomy, and they a lot of times they sound hissy, and you can just put an isotope on it, isotope ozone, or isotope neutron, I think it is neutron, and you put that on an acoustic guitar, and it goes from really horrible sounding that mixes horribly into your song to something that is really transparent and beautiful and mixes very nice with all of your other tracks. Because, it's like you don't need to EQ all of these synth tracks because they're just so nice, all just the way they are. these pads and these all of these things, the strings instruments, the strings that you get with like native instruments, they don't need EQing. They're just fine the way they are. There's how can you EQ something that's already perfect? You know, it's just most sounds you don't need to EQ, and that's my philosophy. Okay, I mean once you put the fab filter on it, and you give it a good crank and 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 very lightly chop some of the top off of it, very small amount off the top, tiny bits here and there, so you don't hear it, and also it doesn't you don't hear that that crunching, that squishing of your sound, or the distortion that it can come with it. That's what you do, and that's it. You're all of these people putting all of these, I used to, like I said, have like 10 or 12 different, I had EQs and little bit of reverb, a little bit of several different compressors, and I even used to put Ozone 9 on my tracks, and I'm even not using that these days. I'm just go with FabFilter, and this True Iron, it gives it a hotness and a warmness, okay, to the overall sound. And I usually put True Iron also on my lead vocal, and I might put it on, and not like a guitar lead. If it's a little bit harsh, I'll put it on a guitar lead. But simple is better. And this vocal finalizer, I just bought this, and I'm kind of getting into it right now for reverb. But I usually use Breverb or a convolution reverbs. Breverb out loud makes a convolution reverb, and I have tons and tons of convolution waveforms. Okay, so I hope this is helpful. Hey, the volume is very, very, very low. Okay, let's see, which volume are we talking about? Okay, let's see, we'll give a little bit more volume here and see if that works. Okay, I hope that is good. I'm gonna have to check. I'm hoping this works. Worked, Angus. I think I'm all done with this video, and maybe I could have gotten a little closer to the mic. I will check it out now, and we'll see what happened. If I have just absolutely done something bad here. So, okay, I'm going to end this now. I hope this was helpful. And these tips, again, please subscribe and click the bell next to the subscribe button if you would like to have notifications when I make more videos. I will be going over these tips because repetition is the best way to learn. And I will be doing some new stuff in new videos, different things. So these are all these waves are going to get some Melodyne treatment. I'm going to go through and comp them and pick the best sections out of them. So thank you very much, Angus, for letting me know about the volume. I hope it wasn't that bad. So, all right, you take care, and I will be back again. Hopefully this video isn't just ruined because of that. That was very helpful, Angus, to let me know. So take care, and I will be back again soon. That's going to be it for this. This is RexRed saying goodbye for now. Have a great night, and you take care, Angus. All right, very good. All the best to you, buddy. All right, we'll see you in the next video. All righty, bye-bye for now. I have to put my hand down to click end stream. So, all right, I'll swave with this hand. All righty. Goodbye. Thanks. All right, very good. I hope that was okay. All right, thanks. All righty. Bye-bye, Angus. Have a good night.